Okay, this is actually kind of crazy. Tesla stock today is down about 4% at the time of recording this video. Now, there is some issues with tariffs that really just, I don't want to say crash the markets because I think that's dramatic. You're only down a third of 1% in the S&P right now, but you were up about 1%. So this is a huge reversal from where we were in the beginning of the trading day. And Tesla's down a lot today, but there's no bad news. In fact, there's actually good news today, which is kind of along the same lines as what we've seen every other day for weeks now. Tesla's selling off even on good news. And I think that's where the opportunity comes in. Keep in mind, we do have NVIDIA earnings after the bell today, and that is going to be a big catalyst for obviously NVIDIA, but other AI stocks. I think data center, even momentum like a Palantir, Tesla, can be affected by NVIDIA earnings. Now, this could be a reason some investors that, clearly don't understand what they're doing could be getting nervous today. Stellantis unveils eyes-off driving system that meets the SAE Level 3 automation standards. The system, however, is currently limited to speeds of 37 miles per hour and is not yet scheduled for commercial release. The Stellar Auto Drive 1.0 system allows drivers to take their hands off the wheel and their eyes off the road in specific conditions. Designed primarily for urban environments with heavy traffic, the system can manage steering, acceleration, braking, and following distance. It is also designed to function in low light and poor weather conditions. While the initial version is limited to 37 miles per hour, Stellantis has confirmed that it is working to increase the system's speed threshold to 59 miles per hour and potentially add off-road capabilities in the future. However, there is no firm timeline for when these improvements will be available to customers. Now, also, this headline could be negatively affecting Tesla. It says car recall roundup. Tesla, Ford, Toyota, Maserati, among 850,000 vehicles recalled. Bring them to your dealer ASAP. Says here's the recalls you need to know about from February 17th through February 23rd. Tesla is recalling 376,241 vehicles due to a potential crash risk. The car maker recalled its 2023 Model 3 and Model Y cars sold in the U.S. because if voltage exceeds the car's limit, it can cause it to lose power steering when it slows down to 0 miles per hour and potentially cause an accident. But guess what? Tesla released an over-the-air software update for free to remedy the issue. But Ford is recalling 240,000 vehicles due to multiple seatbelt issues. This is a recall you actually have to take it to the dealership to fix. Same is true with Toyota here. Passengers sitting in the third row of one of these vehicles in a crash, they have an increased risk of being injured because of loose seat assembly bolts. Literally, the seat is not bolted down correctly. Again, you have to take that to the dealership. Same applies with Maserati. So, anytime we get these recall headlines, it does tend to negatively affect Tesla. But again, this is really a non-event. And it really did look like we had some news today that would make sense to why Tesla was selling off, because you actually hit $309 per share in the first 30 minutes of trading or so. You were up like 1.5%, and then seemingly out of nowhere, you started to pretty dramatically sell off. You sold off down to about $294. You're currently down over 2% to about $296 per share for no reason. Like, nothing happened that caused this, or at least nothing that makes any logical sense. In fact, you may have actually had some good news. Ford CEO Jim Farley says their low-cost EVs won't have level 3 autonomous driver assist tech in them. He says, quote, the lower cost vehicles, you can't put a level 3 electric architecture in, so we're not going to have LiDAR systems and all sorts of very sophisticated sensor sets because it won't be affordable. It'll have its own electric architecture, which is great, but we're not going to put all the bells and whistles on it at that price point. As Joe Tetmeyer comments underneath this post and says, "This will be a huge advantage for Tesla." And Sawyer Merritt says, "Yeah, I think Ford licensing Tesla's FSD is inevitable." Again, I would say this news is actually good news for Tesla. But of course, right now, when there's so much fear that is really unfounded, I mean, anything can kind of be misconstrued and misinform investors. And I think that is the attack that you are currently seeing on Tesla. It is a attack of misinformation, whether it is recalls or it is, deliveries down 45% in Europe. Like, all of that is misinformation out of context and just factually not true. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense why Warren Buffett got so rich. All you got to do is pay attention to the facts and leave your emotions out of it. Do you know Tesla's down 40% from all-time highs? And nothing has changed. Tesla's the same Tesla it was at $488 per share. In fact, Tesla's actually gotten much better from a business value perspective. The only difference is the stock is down almost 40% from all-time highs. That is where you become very wealthy, is when you can distinguish between a stock falling because of fear, and you can, distinguish a stock falling because the company is struggling or getting worse or something along those lines. That's not happening for Tesla. And that is why I think right now is such an opportunity. But in the short term, it's all going to come down to NVIDIA. If NVIDIA has good earnings, if they have good things to say about AI, we'll see. That's exactly what is said. But that's going to be a big catalyst to move Tesla higher. And we will cover that in depth in the video that comes out at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. My expectation is we get the NVIDIA Classic beat and raise. And at this point, with NVIDIA down 10% or so from all-time highs, it's probably going to be enough to move the needle, to move NVIDIA higher, and it's probably going to move software, real-world AI appliers like Tesla, data centers, the whole kind of momentum trade around AI. It's going to move higher based on NVIDIA earnings, in my opinion, unless there is some kind of bad news, which just doesn't make sense. In fact, it was actually reported that Meta is looking to invest about $200 billion into a data center campus, a massive facility for AI. I mean, if you have any doubts, I don't know where they're coming from. AI is real, it's here, and it's only going to get better over time. And I still think in the second half of this year, the attention is going to turn to your AI appliers. That is software names that are actually building products with AI. That is literal real-world AI, like Tesla's full self-driving. That is real-world AI. That is helping people on a mass market level, not have to drive their cars anymore. A safer way of transportation. That is huge. But Optimus is even bigger than that. And I think that's going to get a lot more attention in the second half of this year. And nothing has changed the FSD or Optimus story, or even the car business side of Tesla, in the 40% fall that Tesla has seen. It's just a lot of fear and a lot of unfounded emotions. Now, also in the news today, via the Tesla Asia X account, they write here, deliveries of our new Tesla Model Y kick off in China today. And you can see some of the first customers to take their delivery of their new Model Y. It's a joke that, people are freaking out that deliveries have been down for Tesla in January and February. Deliveries are about to explode for Tesla. Literally explode for Tesla. Now that they are delivering the Model Y. There has been virtually no sales of the Model Y since the start of this year. Because why would you buy an iPhone 16 4 weeks before an iPhone 17 comes out at roughly the same price point? No logical person would do that unless they absolutely needed the iPhone 16 immediately. Which, buying a car, you don't exactly need a new car immediately unless something tragic happens. Tesla has also increased the displayed range of the Model 3 when equipped with the 19-inch Nova wheels by up to 6.5%, with the Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive that now gets 343 miles, and the Model 3 long-range all-wheel drive that now gets 332 miles of range. That's a 5% increase. Now, the S&P was doing very well in the beginning of the trading day, and not so much into the end of the day. We did get the first cabinet meeting from Trump where they took a lot of questions. Elon Musk was there, and pretty much every other important individual in the Trump administration was there, and they all kind of took turns taking questions from the media, and we did get some comments about tariffs. So the tariff fear is back. And I mean, this was a pretty big reversal. The S&P was up almost 1% at one point today and ended up giving pretty much all of that back. And this was really the big headline. Says Trump that tariffs will go on. Not all, but a lot of them. Talking about Mexico and Canada. What's interesting about this, though, is he kind of alluded to tariffs that may not go on if the Trump administration likes the progress that they are seeing on the border and with illegal drugs. Now, he says they're going to go on, but kind of opened up a pathway for them to be delayed even further. He did talk about Europe, though, and some people walked away from that thinking a 25% tariff could be on Europe soon. And I think that's where some of the worries are coming from today, because that's kind of new information. We've known about Europe tariffs, that they will be tariffed eventually, but we haven't heard an exact number. And people are walking away from the cabinet meeting today thinking Europe could be hit with a 25% tariff as well. Fed Bostic says labor markets are looser, but not loose. And Fed Bostic says the estimates for the job break-even rate are as low as 75 to 100,000 per month. Fed Bostic says the Fed needs to stay where it is and see how the world evolves. Again, Trump says Canada and Mexico tariffs go into effect on April 2nd. And here you can see that headline, Trump's decision on tariffs on the EU at 25%. And he says details on EU tariffs coming soon. He says the EU tariffs to be 25% on autos and other things. Again, don't know what those are, but quote-unquote other things. Trump says that he does think he will get a deal done with Putin, and he believes that Putin had no intention of settling the Ukraine war. And Trump says he wants to see if they can make a deal with Russia before talking about loosening sanctions. Fed Bostic says heightened uncertainty is causing people to wait. You can see the VIX today is up around 0.5%. Albeit, I think that's pretty good considering the markets fell so much from the highs today. The Dow is down 0.5% at the time of recording this video. The S&P 500 is break even. The Nasdaq up 0.25%. The Russell, the outperforming index today, up 0.6%. Bond yields are moving lower by about 4 basis points. And oil is also moving lower, around 0.65%. So some of your growth concerns are continuing. That could be part of why Tesla is selling off today. Again, no idea why you sharply started to kind of crash there in the beginning of trading. But some of the growth concerns, Tesla being an auto company, some of the misinformation out there, makes sense to why you have seen this weakness for Tesla. Is it justified? No, it doesn't make any sense in all actuality. Like, should people be fearful right now about Tesla? Not in my opinion. But I can see why Wall Street is so jumpy. Now, in the options market today from Big Money, you can see Big Money's not jumpy at all. Big Money is bullish on Tesla. You've seen 641 different trades totaling $467.25 million with a positive order value of 79%. Like, they're bullish. They are firmly bullish on Tesla. No surprise there. They've been bullish on Tesla. In fact, take a look at this. You have 956,000 shares today that are being covered on. So, again, short sellers are covering on short positions. Like, the short interest in Tesla is the lowest it's ever been, and it continues to fall basically every single day. Now, yesterday you did have shorts adding to their positions a little bit, and over the course of the evening, as those numbers started to, get finalized, there was like 1 million shares that were sold short. But they're covering on all of that today. As the stock moves lower, shorts are covering. That is a very positive sign. And quite frankly, something you've never seen before. Google Trends data for the Tesla Model Y continues to move higher when you look at worldwide search trend activity. Now at 20, which was up from yesterday's report when it was at 19. The Cybertruck fell from 18 down to 16. The Model 3 is holding steady at 16. That is unchanged. The Model S at 7 and the Model X at 5. Now, if we take a look at the United States here, you can see the search trend activity for the Model Y is looking pretty good, but unchanged overall. Still at 12, Cybertruck unchanged at 15. The Model 3 actually seen a boost in search trend activity from 9 to 10. And the Model S is at 5, the Model X is at 4, and there's no change there. So definitely nothing to be alarmed with when you look at Google Trends data. They tend to, Tesla doesn't tend to do that well in Q1 and Q2. It's really backloaded into the second half of the year, where Tesla tends to see a lot more deliveries. I think it has to do with taxes, things like that, potentially why it's backloaded, but not an issue to be seen here. If you look at the fear and greed index over on CNN, you're coming in at 23. Yesterday you closed at 22, so markets are still extremely fearful. Market momentum, extreme fear. Stock price strength, extreme fear. Stock price breadth, fear. Put and call options, extreme fear. Market volatility is neutral. Safe haven demand, extreme fear. And junk bond demand currently in fear. If we look at the percent of stocks currently trading above their 50-day moving average, not much of an improvement there, but a little improvement today, coming in at almost 41% of stocks trading above their 50-day moving average. So about 59% of stocks are below their 50-day moving average. So a lot of broad-based weakness out there. And I think that does bode well heading into NVIDIA's earnings and subsequently what we could see over the next, couple of days with what I believe will be a positive reaction post NVIDIA earnings. Now, tomorrow we will get a new AI investor sentiment survey, and I wouldn't be surprised if bearish sentiment hits a new multi-year high. You came down a little bit from last week's, multi-year high bearish sentiment, but it's still pretty bearish overall. 40.5% of investors are bearish, 30.3% are neutral, and 29.2% are bullish. So there's not a lot of bulls out there at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if that number drops even further in the report that we get tomorrow. Tesla continues to run about 4,000 different ads, and if we look at Tesla's global inventory, it's falling for the Model Y down to about 5,900. Model 3 to about 3,600, Model X at 1,800, Model S at 1,200, and the Cybertruck sitting at about 900. Now, as far as Tesla stock on a technical basis, I mean, your 200-day moving average is not too far off of where we are now, especially if the markets do not like NVIDIA's earnings or some of these tariff announcements impact the markets in a more negative way than we're already seeing. Then you could definitely fall to that 200-day moving average around $277 per share. But literally any time now, I expect that we will get a material bounce in Tesla stock. You are now at 27 on the RSI, and very rarely, outside of like major worries and panics in Tesla stock, you bounce when the RSI gets oversold. You are pretty firmly oversold now, and that should mean we bounce soon. Maybe we have to hit that 200-day moving average. I don't think it really matters here. I think 293 is a crazy price. I mean, people selling Tesla here, you know, they must believe AI is like a bubble or something. Because, I mean, you're going to bet against cars that drive themselves or mass market humanoid robots. Of course, these things are long term. We're talking the next couple of years, not the next couple of days. But I mean, if you were bullish on Tesla any time in the past, you should be more bullish on Tesla now, because things have only gotten better. Obviously, not financial advice. Your financial situation is different than mine. It's different than the next guy. But I think it's crazy that Tesla is selling in the 290s. Like, what a steal of a deal Tesla stock is at current levels. And I plan to buy as much as possible while the markets are this emotional. I don't think the markets are going to be this emotional forever when it comes to Tesla. I think ultimately markets will realize, oh, fuck, we got this wrong. And I think it could happen pretty soon. So let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comment section. Just my thoughts I'm sharing. I would love your thoughts as well. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.